Alright, in this video, I want to talk about how judgment is definitely coming. Yesterday, I saw a video where they were showing rallies and groups of people rooting for Donald Trump in Japan, saying fight, fight, fight. And I was like, that's strange because I've seen ones where it's European nations wanting Trump. And I thought it was weird that these other nations want Trump to win the American election, and they're not even American. Because what is going on affects the world, and nations around the world, I shouldn't say the nations themselves, but there's groups in all of these different nations rooting for Donald Trump. And Israel is probably the biggest one there. They all love Donald Trump there. They even took his image and put it on one of their temple coins. They gave him the crown of Jerusalem. They love him. And you may be saying, well, how does this prove judgment's coming? Well, you see, a lot of these people, they want Trump because there's economic issues, devaluing of the currency, inflation, and they think that he will fix it. There's wars breaking out, and they think that he will bring the peace. There's these natural disasters and maybe not so natural disasters going on, and they're not helping, and they think that he will make sure help comes. And you may be saying, well, again, how is that a sign that judgment's coming? Well, because these things happen to draw your attention to God. So when you have a natural disaster, you cry out to God, why? Help us. When you have the wars breaking out, again, you cry out to God, why is this happening? Help us. You have inflation, devaluing of the currency, economic issues. Seeing that you can't trust the system, that should definitely get you to look to God, where you can't trust in your government, your job, and the money you're using. Cry out to God, why? Why is this happening? Help. But what is everybody doing? They're crying out for Donald Trump. You see, instead of having God as their king, no, they don't want God. They don't want him to come in here. Donald Trump, who before 2016, everybody just thought of him as a rich, pompous ass, and I still do. But now they think of him as some kind of savior of country. He's God's chosen to save the country. And when people are actually coming to God, they're coming to God to support Trump and to make sure Trump gets into office. They're not coming to God saying, your will be done. If you want Harris, all right, Harris it is. Your will, not mine. No, you're pushing for this. Acting like God needs Donald Trump and the world needs Donald Trump. No, no, we don't. This guy is a con man, and you have all bought into the con because you would rather have a man to rule over you than God. So you guys are all jumping in on this and going all gung ho for him because you are still focused on this world and your life in this world and making sure it stays comfortable and smooth and is very prosperous. You're not focused on, hey, this world doesn't matter, this life doesn't matter. How about we make sure we get everybody saved? No, no, no. You're like, I like the way things are. I want to keep it that way. Let's bring in this pompous ass billionaire and we'll pretend that he's on our side. He's not one of those other billionaires. He's a special one that's willing to sacrifice himself for us, which is basically what they're acting like he's doing. Jesus sacrificed himself for us, and they're acting like this guy, he's stepping in the way, protecting us from what the shadow government really wants to do. He's the real savior, and they're making an idol out of this guy. Like with Israel, when they didn't want God to be their king and to judge over them, they were like, give us a king like the Gentiles. We want to be like the rest of the world. Give us a king. And he was like, all right, well, if you have a king, he's going to do this, that, and the other thing. They still accepted having a king, a man, as their king. And that's what everybody wants here, and that's what they're going to get. And I love the fact that this guy here, Donald Trump, has read this story over and over about the snake. The snake, and the woman helped the snake, and then the snake still bites the woman. And the snake's like, well, you knew I was a snake before you let me in. And he's going to be looking at you in that same way when he bites you. He's going to be like, what? You're going to act like you didn't know I was a snake? And this, again, is not in support of the left or Harris. Because I know a lot of you nutjobs can't understand somebody not being on the left if they don't support Trump. Because your brains are all brainwashed, indoctrinated, full of propaganda. You're in a box where you can't fathom somebody not supporting the left or the right. So you can't imagine such a thing. Because you're so brainwashed and your mind is all warped that you can't even think of such a thing. It makes no sense to you. And you're probably sitting here bashing the left and bashing Harris when I don't care. Matter of fact, a lot of times I would agree with you with some of the things you probably say, if not most or all of the things you have to say about the left and Harris, right? But that doesn't mean Trump is some kind of angel sent from God to save the country or the world. And this is why I know the end is coming and judgment is coming. And a good lot of you're not going to accept the gospel. So you're going to be here thinking you're good, godly Christians. When if you were, you would have been raptured because you would have accepted the fact that you're not a good, godly person. And that Jesus needed to die for you so that you could be born again. And the only reason why you're saved is because of God's mercy and His grace and His finished work of salvation. So you're here, and now you're probably starting to realize that, I thought Donald Trump was going to save the world, but I think he's the Antichrist. And that's why I'm kind of making this video ahead of the time, so that now when you think it's crazy, okay, yeah, it's crazy. But then when it happens, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I see that clearly now. How did that weirdo on the internet know that? How did that lefty Harris supporter know? Because I know that's what some of you jackasses are saying, right? Well, because it's pretty blatantly obvious. But if you had your priorities straight, you would see it too. But you see, Donald Trump tells you why you believe the nonsense. He wrote a book about the art of the deal, where he says you got to make the deal sound so good that people believe it, not because it's true, because a lot of times it's obviously not true. They believe it because they want to believe it. And that's why you're falling for all this. You know deep down that it's a lie, but you want it to be true. So you're going to support it and you're going to go all gung-ho supporting Trump because you want to believe he's a savior and he's really for us and he's really going to make things better. You're believing it because you want to believe it, not because it's true, because you simply want it to be true. And instead of seeking God, you're going to get what's coming to you. And hopefully you'll see this all unfold, and then you realize, hey, I better get right with God. Because your money ain't going to save you. Your Bitcoin ain't going to save you. Your silver and gold ain't going to save you. A lot of the stuff you stored up ain't going to save you either. Whether it's food, water, ammo, and guns, you're going to realize pretty quick how that ain't going to help you. It ain't going to last. And you need to rely on God. He's the only way you're going to get through anything. He'll preserve you if you put your faith in Him. And obviously don't take the mark. It's going to be coming. So with all that being said, thanks for watching. Take care.